Greens are an incredibly versatile and friendly vegetable. Eat them raw, roasted, braised, even grilled. If you're looking for a fast, nutritious side dish though, sauteing is definitely the way to go. We're gonna start out with Swiss chard. And you can really, there are a lot of great sauteing greens. Swiss chard is a lovely one, but you could also use obviously spinach or kale if you have that on hand. So if we get our pan heated, today I'm gonna show you a tip where you don't have to use any oil at all in sauteing your greens. So I'm gonna wait for this to get heated. Once it gets hot, I'm gonna use vegetable stock. And you can use any stock. You could use vegetable stock, chicken stock, whatever stock you have. Or if you don't have any stock at all, you could always just use water instead. So what I'm gonna do is add a little bit to the bottom here. And I can see it and hear it sizzling. So I'm gonna get my greens in here. And this is gonna cook up really, really fast. So resist the urge to start to move it around. You wanna get the heat in contact with the greens themselves, and you don't wanna add any salt at this point, because what happens is when you start to add the salt to the greens, it's gonna draw and pull out all the moisture from the greens, and then you're gonna end with a pool of liquid at the bottom. So I hear it sizzling, so I'm just going to take a little peek at the bottom here, and I see that the bottoms are starting to wilt a little. So now I'm just gonna start to flip it around. So this would probably honestly be enough for myself. So if you want to cook for your family, you gotta one, start with a bigger pan, and two, do twice as much. All right, so it's starting to cook down and wilt. As you can see here, like it's not sticky. I think a lot of people overdo it on the oil because they're afraid it's gonna stick to the bottom of your pan. One, I'm starting with a non-stick pan, so that always helps, but there's no sticking involved here with this, and there's no oil in my pan. So as it cooks down, I get it to this point where I start to see it soften and it also changes color. I'm gonna turn the heat off. At this point is where I'm going to add in my salt. So I'm gonna add a little bit of salt just to amp up the flavor a little bit. And there's residual heat from the pan is gonna continue to cook those greens so I don't end up with a wet puddle at the bottom. And whenever I cook dark greens, I always like to have some sort of acid at the very end. I have apple cider vinegar, but you could use a red wine vinegar as well. And you just need a couple drops. This is like my measuring spoon. So I just use usually a capful. And what that does, it just kind of brightens the whole thing up. And it kind of cuts through any bitterness in your greens that you may have. So this is a great quick side dish. It came together in, 2 minutes? You can put this on top of a bed of grains. You could put it in, thinking like right now, you could also put it on like a baked sweet potato. It would be lovely if you put your greens on top of that. Maybe put a little bit of tahini on top of that, and it makes a very nutritious meal.